Why impeach Obama?
Well, I would need hours to give you the full answer. Well, I know that he should be impeached because I have studied him since 2007. I was on him since 2007. First of all, his entire background and even what he says about himself and what's been written about him is shrouded in mystery. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
Like what?
Great examples. Okay, so he's written 2 books. Tons of contradictions in his books.
Okay.
There are people that never existed. There are composite characters. A girlfriend who is a composite of characters who was never like a real girlfriend. And there are lies about how he met Michelle Obama.
What are those lies?
I don't know them specifically. It would really take a 3,000-page manuscript to like document everything. But I'm going to do the best I can. Why does he have a Connecticut Social Security number? I certainly don't believe that he was born in America. And I believe that the birth certificate in Hawaii is definitely a fraud.
Where do you believe that Obama's from?
Kenya. You know, and I think that can be documented, and I think Trump was right in what he said. You know, there's a lot of things
Do you think it was necessary for Trump to bring it to the masses as he did?
I think that's a great question. I really do, because I think here's what's tricky. If you give people too much and you harp on one thing too much, it gives other people more ammunition to say, oh, you're looking for excuses to put Obama down. For me, I don't need that as an excuse.
Okay.
I've got a million other better reasons.
Okay, so you think it was okay for what Trump did?
Yeah, I think he overdid it, and I think Trump's manner is not, my personal favorite, so I wasn't overly like, go Donald. It is a rule, it is part of our Constitution, which he shows no respect for, that you need to be born in America to be an American president. And
so suppose that if he wasn't born here in America, then what? Do you think
then it's a problem?
He shouldn't have been president?
No. There's people now that, of course, it won't be successful, but they want to see him deported because they believe he's not even a legal alien. And this is part of why his transcripts are so hidden. We don't know what his honors thesis was. We don't know his medical records. The Social Security number. A lot of it was written. Nobody at Columbia remembers him. There's a lot of strange, shady things about this man. He had a communist white mother in Durham who was, he was considered a red diaper baby. He was basically brought up on communism. He only met his father once. I don't know if you knew that. He was a Kenyan national. He was a Kenyan national who, this is very important, hated imperialism, hated colonialism. That means he basically hated the United States mistakenly and hated like England. And one of his first acts as president was to return a bust of Churchill, which was given to the United States after 9/11. He just returned it to the English government. Do you know that Obama genetically is 6% black? He's 50% white, he's 42.5% Kenyan, and the rest of him is actually black. I don't know about you, I don't think of Obama as a black man.
You don't?
He's a very weak representative as opposed to black people I know, or and especially black people I admire.
Why do you think he's a weak representative?
He's not
like to black men or to black people or to whom exactly?
No, he's not a real, he doesn't really represent blacks.
Okay.
He represents a different ideology, and I think that
why do you say that?
What he has in common with American blacks or is extremely little. He hasn't shared their background. He had a very privileged upbringing. He went to fancy schools. He had scholarships to famous institutions. And when he tries to say that he understands what it's like to be black or empathizes with blacks, it doesn't work at all.
Who do you think is a good representation of black people?
I could give you 2 great answers. Alan West and Ben Carson. I hope Ben Carson is our next president if the country survives to 2016. They believe in traditional American values.
Which are
capitalism, which are work hard and earn your living. They are make the most of yourselves. They are for strong national defense. They're for strong American energy policy, so we're not dependent on foreign oil. They're for lower taxes, which are killing businesses.
But didn't Obama tax the rich?
To Did Obama tax? Oh yeah, heavily, which is also a very wrong strategy to grow the country. Who has a poor person ever hired you? Who creates jobs? The rich. You're going to penalize the rich. How are they going to create jobs? Don't tell me that this expanded welfare state and people being on disability and a low percentage of Americans working is good for the country.
So who should our president tax?
Sorry?
Who should our president tax heavily then?
No. I'll give you a great answer and a true answer. It should be a fair tax. If you make $10,000 a year,
So you believe that the rich and the poor should be taxed the same?
Equal percentage. And listen, if you do equal percentage,
But I mean,
guess who's going to pay a lot more money in taxes? The rich.
Mm-hmm.
So why are 47% of people in this country paying no taxes? And he gets up and talks about fairness? That infuriates me. He wants to make a rich person the bad guy, which is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
That Mitt Romney didn't steal the money that he had. He created jobs for other people. He started his political career in the kitchen of a terrorist, in the home of a terrorist named Bill Ayers and his wife Bernadine Doran, who were with the Weather Underground in the 60s. They killed policemen and they bombed the Pentagon. And after 9/11, Bill Ayers said, "I wished I had done more." He's an unrepentant terrorist. Well, would you be happy to have a president who's supposed to defend this country and love this country and believe in American exceptionalism, who started off in the home of a terrorist, who was bombing the Pentagon and killing policemen? I wouldn't. That doesn't make me comfortable or happy. Islams and Muslims pretending to look good and want the best for everybody and saying that they're peaceful, but many of them aren't. They still espouse some of the same values, even though they're not out bombing
So basically,
buildings.
when you say look good, meaning disguise themselves
Yes,
as...
that's exactly right.
Okay, and how would you say they would disguise themselves? As what?
By going on the air and being quoted and being known as Islams who appear to want peace. So Reverend Wright has a church, a black community church, and what Reverend Wright said was very alarming. America deserved 9/11 because America's chickens had come home to roost. He said, it was an outrageous statement, that America was responsible for the AIDS virus and wanting to implant it into blacks.
Do you believe that Obama shared the Reverend's views?
Oh yes,
You
and
do?
I'll tell you why. He was a member of that church for 20 years. He married them and he baptized their children. And then he tries to play it off when he runs for election as if, oh, well, I was just sat in the church for 20 years. I don't think you sit in the church for 20 years and hearing views that you disagree. And then he threw Reverend Wright under the bus
Why do you think
to disassociate himself.
Why do you think Obama stayed in that church? And
Because he believed what he was hearing. That's where he belonged, you know? I mean, this is another topic, but he's not a Christian. Michelle had to convince him to act like a Christian so he could run for president. Christians get elected. He's a Muslim, and it's clear he's a Muslim, and on every single issue, and his speeches and his actions, he's been anti-American and pro-Muslim.
how do you think Obama handles race?
Terribly. He is the most divisive president in our history. He's divided us more than any other president. The Ferguson thing is a great example. There was a white kid killed by a black cop in Utah. It happened that the white kid had headphones on and couldn't hear what the cop was talking about and didn't answer. And some kind of altercation ensued. And the white kid in Utah got shot and killed. Now, first of all, it never made the press. And second of all, nobody's accusing that black cop of wanting to gun down a white person. It's a pretty far stretch to say that, and not that there aren't a lot of malicious racists, there are malicious racists, but it's a far stretch to say that this cop in Ferguson was out to get this guy. Now, mind you, there'll be a hearing, there'll be a trial,
Yes.
and I completely believe in due process. I think that this boy who was out there is not a saint. He was robbing another store. He was on the influence of drugs, by all accounts that I've read, and he charged the
What
police.
drugs? What drugs?
I believe marijuana.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
And he was charging a police officer. Those things are not going to get you merit points, or they lead you into dangerous situations.
So you say that he was high, You say that he
was
wasn't
already a
he
criminal.
charged
And he charged the police officer.
police. So do you believe that he should be dead because of it?
No, I do not.
Mhm.
I think that's really unfortunate that happened. And there will still be a hearing. And if we can get an impartial hearing and we find that that was an irresponsible shooting, then that cop has to pay a price.
And what
So
about the
I'm not-
Trayvon Martin case?
So politicized and rushed to judgment before the facts were in. And you had people like Spike Lee, who were known racists, pouring money into like putting bounty on Trayvon Martin's head, and there was so much prejudice right away, rushed to judgment. Oh my God, and he wasn't even a white, he was a Latino Zimmerman. Did this to a black man. Oh my God, end of the world.
So do you think that those incidents are highly publicized just because it's dealing with black men?
Absolutely.
But would
that's
you
the
say,
way that he wants the press to believe. That's
but do
what
you
the press
think
wants to
that's Obama, or do you believe that's the press?
It's great question. Both. It's largely Obama driven, and the press in this country is a gigantic problem because they have a major progressive, which would not be my word for it, liberal agenda where they report everything very, very skewed, that that you don't get a fair hearing. And I want to finish making 2 points.
Well, I want to stop you right there. I want to interject, and I'd like to say that on behalf of every president, I believe that whatever is highly publicized, whatever is the current events that's going on in the world, they are literally obligated and they are forced to have to say something. So in a moment like this, I would have to disagree with you when you say that it's a little of both, of Obama and the press. In fact, I think Obama didn't say anything in regards to the Trayvon Martin case or the Ferguson case until it was highly publicized. So I wouldn't agree with you in terms of it's both Obama and the press. I think press rules.
Well,
press rules politics.
I would disagree with you because I think this fits Obama's agenda, and I think this is the way he wants things to be.
This impeach Obama button, did you personally have this made?
No. I got it from a website. I'm shocked that more people don't have t-shirts and buttons because when I wear these, even in a liberal place like New York, people like your button, like your t-shirt. In other words, it emboldens them to have an opinion that they're afraid to express. We have a tremendous problem in this country with political correctness.
So this is a movement.
I don't know what you would call it. I mean, it's my beliefs, and I'm a passionate person. I love this country, and I see it being destroyed. And everybody...
By Obama himself?
Yes, he's the biggest factor. And the press is so one-sided in his corner, no matter what this guy does.
So you believe that the press is on his side?
That's a no-brainer. That's 96% of the time. I mean, the way they spin things, if there's stories that are not favorable to Obama, they just won't print them. They'll put them on page 31.
Some critics, however, would argue with that. Some would say that they do bash him, particularly Fox.
Fox News does bash him. Thank God for Fox. Because if you didn't have an alternative source, nobody would get the truth. I mean, you want to read the New York Times, MSNBC? They say the most ridiculous things in defense of Obama. I mean, it's laughable. If you're knowledgeable about the facts, and Fox will report on things, they don't make things up.
They portray them both ways. Like Fox News, negative.
Fox News is racist or not?
Absolutely not. No, they have the best attitude of all of them. I would say the other stations are racist.
You would?
Yes.
Okay. The stations that favor him?
Yes.
And what stations are those?
MSNBC, groups of blacks beat up white people or hurt them or maim them, and there's no charges, and there's no hate crimes charged. And we don't read it in this great example. It's not in the New York Times, but Ferguson, front page for how long? That makes me mad. They're the racists.
When you say there, who's there? Who's the racist?
The Times, the mainstream media. They choose not to report these stories.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're on Obama's side. They've always been liberal, but they're in Obama's pocket. This is an article that I got from WND. Hello, don't recognize me, I understand. My name was Antonio West. I was the 13-month-old child who was shot in the face at point-blank range by two black teens who were attempting to rob my mother, who was also shot. I think my murder and my mommy's wounding made the news for maybe a day and then disappeared. A grand jury of my mommy's peers ruled that black teens who murdered me will not face a death penalty. Too bad it was me who got the death sentence from my killers instead, because mommy didn't have the money they demanded. See, my family made the mistake of being white in a 73% non-white neighborhood, but my murder wasn't ruled a hate crime. Contrast that to Ferguson. Okay? Oh, and President Obama didn't take a single moment to acknowledge my murder. He couldn't have any children who possibly look like me, so why should he care? I'm one of the youngest murder victims in our nation's history, but the media didn't care to cover the story of my being killed in cold blood. This isn't a white equivalent of Al Sharpton. Oh, there isn't a white equivalent of Al Sharpton, because if there was, he would be branded a racist. So no one's rushing to Brunswick, Georgia to demonstrate them injustice for me. There's no White Panther Party either to put a bounty on the lives of the 2 black teens who murdered me. I have no voice, no representation, and unlike those who shot me in the face while I sat innocently in my stroller, I no longer have my life. Isn't this a great country? So while you're out seeking justice for Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown, please remember to seek justice for me. Tell your friends about me, tell your families, get t-shirts with my face on them, and make the world pay attention, just like you did for Trayvon and Brown. I won't hold my breath, I don't have to anymore. That's very sad. I believe it's a hate crime, just like obviously, well, why do people believe that what happened in Ferguson was a hate crime? There's a cop doing his job who was threatened.
How does that coincide with Obama, though?
They're all in his pocket. They all cheerlead for him. And he uses threats. I mean, people that
What threats do you think that Obama
people that don't agree with Obama wind up meeting some bad consequences.
There was so much criticism with it, and he kind of just let it go. And like he goes, well, this is good, but there was a lot of issues that still could have been like addressed, and like it should have been addressed. But like some of the good things where he's like attacked Congress and saying like they're slow and stuff. Like he's challenged them, which I think is good because not all presidents do that.
He doesn't cooperate with Congress at all. And by the way, there are over 300 bills Congress has done that sit on the desk of Harry Reid, who was Obama's henchman. So he doesn't consider any of the bills, any of the things that Congress wants to do. And he has the gall to turn around and call it the do-nothing Congress instead of the do-nothing president. What a disaster Obamacare is for the United States. Most people were happy with their health care. And there were the people that didn't have it,
But what about
the people who opted not to have it?
What about the people that couldn't afford health care?
Well, they had Social Security, they had Medicare. I mean, most everybody had something. But America
But
is
was something
America's
good enough, though?
You know what?
Something
The damage he did with Obamacare, more people lost insurance than gained insurance. And how about this? You're going to kill the economy by forcing employers to provide health care below a certain amount of people. They're not going to be able to afford it. And the blatant lies. How about if you like your plan, you can keep it? One of Obama's biggest of many lies. If you like your plan, you can keep it. Absolute lie. He knew that wasn't the case. If you like your doctor, you can keep him. Not the case. And he said the cost of health care would go down, which is ridiculous. And wait till the end of this year when the deductibles and the premiums go skyrocketing. So he used this to communize and socialize the country. This was not about compassion for American people and getting them health care.
If it's so much harder for someone to go out and get a full-time career that offers you benefits nowadays, like, you should be allowed to be on your parents' health care.
What is your thoughts on Obama's intentions for America?
They're terrible. He's against the concept of America. You know,
What is the concept of America?
It's the leader of the free world. That it's a strong, free nation. The greatest chance for peace on this planet is a strong
that we
America.
have freedom?
Yes,
Country.
compared to it's less and less all the time since Obama. Up until then,
So we have less freedom of speech,
way less freedom.
since
We
Obama.
have more tyranny and less freedom.
And why do you say that? Why do you say less
It's
freedom?
just true because all of his policy, more government control, government control, government control, government regulations. You know how hard it is now to start up a small business because you get taxed out of your mind before you even start. You know, these people don't even have a fair chance to open up because he's against capitalism. He wants everything to be government run. So a strong America, there's a lot to be said for a strong America because I believe in those values. But Obama doesn't.
For the average viewer that tunes in, and they see that impeach Obama button, and they consider you a racist, if anyone who watches and they say, Jay, you're a racist, what do you say?
They're wrong. They're very wrong.
Are you a racist?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've had black friends my whole life. I support 2 black men for president. There's nothing to do with me being a racist. That has to do with me being angry that there's racism against whites. And if you read the press, it's all racism against blacks, which is nonsense. There's something called white guilt, which I don't believe in. I mean, I wasn't part of slavery. I could tell you that I went to high school in the 70s, and there was affirmative action, and there were black kids that got into Harvard with much lower grades than white kids that had higher grades. And Obama's turned it into a big victim situation.
So do you think Obama plays the race card that he plays
All the
victim?
time. All the time. Yeah, they use it to his advantage all the time.
Well,
He to stir
you
up
said
unrest.
they, but I'm asking you, how does he personally, Obama,
I'll
use
give you an
this race
example.
card?
Sending Eric Holder to Ferguson. That's like the Attorney General of the United States had goes to Ferguson, makes it a bigger deal than it was. Why didn't he get sent to Utah? Why didn't he get sent to Georgia when that white kid was killed? Why didn't he get sent to Oklahoma to see what terrorism was going on at the mosque, where that guy was trained and beheaded a former co-worker? An American gets beheaded by ISIS recently, okay? He gives a couple perfunctory words. You know what? 8 minutes later, he's playing golf. He's playing golf. People should be outraged by that. He has dismantled our military. And the best bet for a peaceful world is a strong America. America had the best values. They had the strongest military. Well over 100 military men, top military men, have either quit or been fired under Obama. And what does he have our military doing now? Going to Africa to what? Oversee Ebola? Is that what a military is for? And is he concerned that he's exposing Americans to Ebola? What is his concern about? This is an impeachable offense to me, that he's allowing Ebola to come into this country, that, you know, we're not, why is it here? in
So
the
do you
first
think
place?
Africans should not be allowed here in America?
Flights should not be allowed in from countries that have major Ebola problems. You know, national suicide is not compassion. And that's what it would be, national suicide. Great way to kill off a country.
So what do you think we should do?
They have to get cured over there. They have to solve the problem.
But how do we know if someone in Africa right now has Ebola or not?
They know. There's been 8,000 patients and over
But we
4,000
don't know.
deaths.
So that's what I'm asking you. Should we discriminate? Should we say no? You cannot be allowed here.
That's right. We should not allow them here.
Anyone
Because
from Africa.
24 other countries have done it. Why not the United States? You have to protect your country. That's your biggest obligation. That's the biggest job of a president.
Do you believe that Obama is a terrorist?
As a terrorist. Not per se, but his actions. He's an extremely dangerous man, and why the questions about him are alarming and important.